The story begins with a woman named Katie, a housewife living a comfortable life with her husband and only daughter, Tara. However, in recent months, their relationship has grown distant and cold. Katie also has a sister named Gail, who occasionally visits her. One day, Gail asks Katie to take care of her cat, as she plans to stay at their parents' house for a while. At first, Katie is reluctant to take on this responsibility, but Gail insists, even offering to pay her. Eventually, Katie reluctantly agrees. Besides her household duties, Katie enjoys running and practices it to maintain her health. A few days later, Katie goes to Gail's house to clean up and take care of the cat. While there, a neighbor named Gemma approaches her and introduces herself. Gemma assumes that Katie is renting Gail's house. The next day, Gemma visits Katie again and asks her for a ride to the hospital. Gemma is suffering from abdominal pain and believes she might be pregnant. However, the doctor informs her that she has entered menopause and her health is at risk due to smoking and excessive medication use. This event brings Katie and Gemma closer, and a strong friendship gradually forms between them. Although Gemma rarely invites Katie to her home, during their meetings, Katie also gets to know Gemma's son, Sander. The story takes a twist when Katie injures her hand while taking care of Gail's cat, and this incident marks the beginning of new troubles for her. Katie is forced to treat her hand injury before it gets infected. Her husband had previously advised her to go to the hospital, but she had refused. The injury prevents Katie from accompanying her husband and daughter, Tara, on their trip to visit her grandmother. Meanwhile, Gemma comes to Katie's house and asks her to go to the disco together. However, what should have been an enjoyable night turns into a disaster. After getting drunk, Gemma gets into a fight with one of her friends, and in a nervous, angry state, she leaves the disco in her car. On the way back, she crashes and is taken to the hospital. Worried about her, Katie immediately informs Gemma's husband about the incident. Katie's troubles don't end there. She goes back to Gail's house to feed the cat, but this time, the cat escapes. Katie spends the whole night searching for it, but fails to find it. The next morning, Gemma's husband comes to Katie's house to help find the cat. Together, they print flyers and distribute them around the neighborhood, hoping the cat will be found. However, something unexpected happens. Gemma's husband's behavior becomes increasingly strange and suspicious, and eventually, an inappropriate relationship forms between him and Katie. In a fragile mental state, Katie succumbs to this relationship. The situation becomes even more complicated when Sander, Gemma's son, witnesses this scene. Sander decides to take advantage of the situation. He then claims to have found Gail's cat, but insists that Katie buy him an iPad in exchange for returning it. Katie, trying to manage the situation, initially gives Sander money, but he doesn't change his demand and continues to insist on his request. Eventually, Gail's cat is found, but unfortunately, it is dead. This news leaves Katie confused and anxious, as she doesn't know how to break it to Gail. Later on, Gemma's husband asks Katie to look after Sander for a while so he can stay at the hospital with Gemma. With nothing to do, Katie decides to take Sander on a hike to both care for him and lift his spirits. However, during the trip, Sander confesses his feelings for Katie. He says that the affection and attention he receives from her is something he's never experienced from his own mother. Katie, angry and upset by Sander's behavior, tells him to go back home. But more problems arise when Gail finds out her cat is missing. She angrily tells Katie that she should never have been responsible for her cat. At the same time, it is revealed that Tara, Katie's daughter, has been spending time with a group of students from different classes without her parents' knowledge. This group didn't seem to have a positive influence on Tara, and Sander was also one of its members. One day, when Katie returns home, she discovers that Sander is in Tara's room. This situation makes Katie extremely upset and angry, and she immediately expresses her disapproval of Sander's presence. When Katie's husband learns about the incident, he also objects to Sander being there and demands an explanation from Tara. Tara is scolded, and Sander is forced to leave the house. Katie then warns Tara that she is still too young and should not get close to boys. Katie decides to talk to Sander and asks him to stay away from Tara as she is still a child. However, Sander makes a strange condition. He says he will only stay away from Tara if Katie spends time with him. This request is extremely offensive and repulsive to Katie, so she firmly rejects it. When Sander tries to touch Katie, the situation becomes embarrassing for him, and he stops. Despite this, Katie never accepted such behavior. On the other hand, she feels that her relationship with Tara is deteriorating. She decides to repair their bond. To do so, one day after school, she invites Tara for a walk and to visit a beauty salon. Although the salon was closed and they had to return home, Tara is happy and appreciative of her mother's effort to spend time with her. In addition, Katie tries to improve her relationship with Gail. She decides to get a new cat as a gift for Gail, but Gail rejects the offer, saying that no cat can replace her previous one. However, she appreciates Katie's effort to make her happy. Realizing the importance of her close relationships, Katie decides to spend more time with Tara, Gail, and her family, striving to make her life calmer and more stable. One of the reasons for the tension between Katie and her husband was that she once saw the name Maya on his phone. Katie assumed that Maya was her husband's lover, which had caused her to distrust him. Determined to uncover the truth, she secretly decided to follow him one day. Eventually, she found him at a gym. Watching him carefully, she realized that he was being trained by a coach named Maya. After meeting Maya, Katie discovered that she was nothing more than a fitness coach for her husband. She realized she had misunderstood and made an incorrect judgment. Although a brief argument occurred between them, Katie apologized for her doubts and admitted her mistake. Upon returning home, the couple reconciled and decided to communicate more openly with each other. Katie also worked to improve her relationship with Tara. She gave her daughter a brief piece of advice, telling her how much her parents loved her and how certain they were that Tara would grow into someone they could be proud of. Tara's school held an art ceremony as a farewell to the academic year. Tara was one of the performers at the event, and her performance filled her family with pride and joy. The story ends on a happy note. The main message of the film revolves around the importance of trust, honest communication, and nurturing family and friendship bonds. The story demonstrates how misunderstandings and incorrect judgments can create rifts in relationships. However, with efforts to foster mutual understanding, open conversations, and a focus on repairing emotional connections, these gaps can be bridged, leading to a calmer and more meaningful life. The film also highlights the value of addressing the emotional needs of children and the crucial role parents play in shaping their character and future. Ultimately, the message emphasizes that even in the face of challenges and difficulties, family and love can provide a refuge for rebuilding and finding happiness. I hope you enjoyed this introduction. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give me your support with likes and comments.